Okay, so I welcome everyone back to our next session for the day two of the national conference. This session is about artificial intelligence and machine learning in the world of HR and business. So, there is a saying that in the world, the only thing that is constant is change. So, however, adding to this point, the pace of change is equally important. So, in today's time, artificial intelligence and machine learning are the two fields of studies that have the potential to change the way we think and work. And how can we relate it for us? This session tries to give us the direction to think. And for this session, we have with us Mr. Adit Jain and Ms. Shikha Rastogi. And now I would request Adit sir to take this session forward. Over to you, sir.
Thanks a lot, Krupa. And first of all, thanks a lot, NHRDN, for having us on the call today. So I think Shikha is having some technology trouble. So while she joins in, let me quickly give you an introduction about the structure of today's conversation. So everyone in the HR world today has been bombarded with AI, ML, and the impact of that in business and in HR specifically, right? The idea of today's session is to focus on one area of AI ML, and that's conversational AI, and tell you about the different ways you can deliver value in your organizations using conversational AI and the impact that it can have across the entire life cycle of HR in the organization. So that's the idea. Um, I'll give you a quick introduction about myself while we wait for Shikha to join in. So I'm the co-founder and CEO of Lena AI. I started Lena AI back in 2017, in late 2017, with the vision of building a city for the enterprise. Now, what we wanted to build is very simple. We want to give literally a buddy, a virtual assistant, a friend in your hands, in the hands of every employee in your companies, to ensure that from the day they sign the offer letter till the day they exit, they have a great, amazing experience of everything, right? They, we want to encompass the entire experience from the day they sign the offer letter till they exit into a single interface, which is simple, which is chat friendly, just like all of us today spend most of our time chatting on WhatsApp, on Telegram, and other social media channels as well. So that's where we started this company. It's been an incredible 4-year journey for us, where we've gone from just 3 people to over 350, working with all the large organizations in the world like Coca-Cola, Lafarge Holcim, Sony, Puma, Vodafone. And it's been an immense pleasure for me to welcome Shikha as well, who's
Hi.
been able to join us. Shikha, I'm sorry I did your job while you were away and introduced myself. But now let
Mm,
me hand it back to you for
Thank you.
your
Thank
introduction
you. For,
as well, Shikha.
some technical glitch, so it took a while for me to join in. Anyways, good morning, everyone, and we all are actually traversing a very interesting times ahead right now in terms of digital transformations which are happening at workplaces. Wearing, preparing for the future of work is now a team sport more. And as employees and workplaces are depending more on the insights of AI to do their jobs, developing an AI ready workforce is, is now not only a competitive advantage, but it is becoming a necessity for all of us to look things from a fresh perspective. And today, to understand more about latest trends in the space of AI and ML in HR and business, we have, I mean, since Adit is already introduced, but it gives me a pleasure to introduce Adit, who is one of our guests and also founder and CEO of Lena AI. Adit has a vision to impact and improve lives of people by developing products that push boundaries of human capabilities and imagination. And Adit is an IITian who has been instrumental in developing one of the leading SaaS-based product in HR tech space at a very short span of time and did some wonderful work in this area. And I would like to understand, Adit, from you that how new trends are driving future landscape of conversational AI in HR, and how as CHROs and as people leaders and HR heads and HR managers, we can leverage that for our organizations. Over
Got
to you,
it.
Adit, please. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Shika, for interviewing. I'm very, really happy and glad to be here. So, in today's world, I've spent all of my professional life in conversational AI, right? And majority of that, that's over 4 years now, has been spent in specifically in HR with Lena AI and building that city for employees, right? So, I can tell you this: we are working with over 250 plus global organizations, and literally every aspect of an employee's life cycle journey, from like recruitment or job application or job hunting till their exit, is today touched with conversational AI, right? Let me start off one by one. So let's touch recruitment. For example, at the top of the funnel, let's talk about recruitment, right? So from the time where a candidate is searching for a job or for the right fit in terms of companies or profiles or opportunities, at the top of the funnel. That's the first place where conversational AI has been extremely instrumental in helping candidates find the right job or opportunity for them, either in one company or across organizations. Today, we've seen even the blue collar segment extremely impacted. So I'll tell you this: there are organizations who are now taking in job applications for driver positions, delivery positions, or delivery executive positions, etc., on WhatsApp in Telugu, in Tamil, in all kinds of regional Indian languages, right? So conversational AI has made it accessible for a person who is just probably not even completed their 12th standard to come in and apply for a job on a digital medium, right? That's the power of conversational AI. Of course, it has impacted everything else as well. So today on job sites of leading organizations, you go, you find virtual assistant there. You can start chatting. I personally myself just recently, around 4 weeks ago now, invested in a company which is running assessments on conversational AI. Imagine this. So if you and this is going to happen very very soon. If you're applying for specific job roles like data analyst roles or risk analyst roles, you have to do these case studies during interview rounds, right? And they're typically extremely interviewer heavy, because interviewer has to spend their time, ask question after question after question, right? And the rejection rate, unfortunately, is very high in the industry. Now what they've done, the company I've invested in, they've basically made a conversational AI interface where the job of the interviewer is being done by the AI. Where let's say Shika, you are the applicant, you're gonna go and chat and gonna keep throwing scenarios after scenarios after scenarios on you in chat, right? Believe that. So it's extremely efficient, it's extremely scalable, and it will change the way recruitment is done from an application perspective, from an assessment perspective, and moving forward. We ourselves have been working with over 100 organizations globally, right? And working on great onboarding experiences with conversational AI. Like on WhatsApp, on the mobile app, can people come in and do the entire onboarding process on their mobile itself, right? There's no physical paper required, nothing. Can I just upload all my documents while in chat on WhatsApp or on an app and get through with my onboarding process? Once the person joins the company, you know it, I know it, people have a lot of questions. Employees have so many questions, right? So it's basically under the umbrella of HR service delivery or integrated HR service management. These are the spaces where you have the case management or ticketing solutions, knowledge management, document management, all those solution categories, right? Uh, Typically, they have been historically they have been run either that an employee has to email or call or ping someone on Slack or Microsoft Teams for their questions, right?
Yeah.
Or raise a ticket. But what is happening with conversation, and we are seeing this live in front of us in our customers,
Mhm.
right? You can actually completely take away the human element. The HR team is not required to answer those repetitive questions anymore. Lena AI, for example, and there's many other solutions as well, can answer them automatically on behalf of the HR team. What it does, great employee experience. Of course, I don't have to wait for for a simple response for 24 or 48 hours. And second, saves a lot of HR time, right? It's huge
Yeah.
ROI for the business, right? And then we've done continuous performance dialogues with employees via conversational AI. We have seen bite-sized content consumption on a virtual assistant or a chatbot on the app, for employees, and all the way to exit conversations and employee engagement conversations happening via conversational AI. So there's a huge. I think the way you think or imagine the interaction between the HR services and the employee, it has been either like dashboards or email or physical calls, emails, whatever, right? I think that will completely go away because of conversational AI in the next 3 years, for sure. Gartner says that over 80% of the organizations in the next 3 years will be using some or the other form of conversational AI in their entire employee life cycle in the next 3 years itself. So I think huge area, huge impact, huge ROI for business to invest in these areas.
Yeah, and our experience is Gartner has been good in predicting a lot of things in terms of new trends,
Yep,
coming up. With this, we would like to, I mean, let's explore that with new trend comes new challenges, right? And so, what do you think? What would be the challenges which key decision makers in HR or business would be facing when, uh, or they are facing right now when we are implementing the new solutions? Because at the end of the day, there is one kind of technology solutions to which your entire workforce is already attuned to, right? And then bringing that change itself is a task. It's not the new product which has got good features is a problem, but it's the human intervention. At the end of the day, these are tools which people would be using. So how that seamless transition can be done, and what are the challenges which you or your teams are facing right now with various clients? If you can share that, perhaps it'll give our audiences a good insight in terms of how we can
absolutely.
make our lives better, how that can make our lives better. Yeah, yeah, over to you, Adit.
Hello,
Yeah, yeah, I'm saying over
Shika.
to you, Adit. Yeah, did you uh,
No,
you
I'm
got
here.
break? Yeah, so I'm saying if you can share the challenges which
I think I think it's either my internet or yours, but yeah, I can hear you very well. So I'll continue.
yeah,
So
yeah,
essentially, see what has happened, Shika. We do this day in and day out, right? So I'll tell you the first biggest problem. The first biggest problem is it started out as a fad. It was something that people just wanted to have. It's conversation. Let's go get a chatbot. Let's go get a virtual assistant, right? That's okay. I think that's also
But you have to,
yeah.
yeah,
I'm saying that's also very important because if that doesn't happen, you'll never move forward, right? Because any technology will never be perfect in one go, right? But
yeah,
that's 2017, 2016. That was relevant then. Today, if you go in with that mindset, you'll have a lot of problem, and I'll tell you why. So there are two major ROIs that we promise to our customers, or generally conversational AI offers in the HR service delivery realm. The number one is great employee experience, right? Saving employee time and great employee experience. Essentially bundled into let's just call it great employee experience, right? Number two is saving HR time. These are the two top most ROI drivers for any organization while investing in this technology, right? Now what happens is if you have to be very clear on what do you want to achieve. The best and the most successful customers of ours have been who have been clear from day one what they want to achieve, either great employee experience or saving costs, right? So if you are very clear in your head, now of course the solution will always impact both of these things, but if you are clear in your mind that it is one of these two things, if you know what it is, I think that is the starting point of this journey, right? It will still impact the other. So I'm not saying that if you just go for cost saving, experience will not improve, or if you just go for experience, cost saving will not happen. It will, right? But it changes the approach of delivering the solution, or it changes the approach of that journey because it's not a 3 day, 5 day thing, right? It's a journey. We've been on transformational journeys RPG customer, for example, one of our earliest customers, 2018, early 2018 customers. It's been 4 years now on the journey with them, and still we are doing more and more things. We are doing new and new things with them, right? Even today, right? 4 years in. So it's a journey. Now, if the leadership, if the people who are responsible for doing this are extremely clear in their mind on what they want to achieve or what is important for their organization, I think that is step number one. I think that's 80% of the problem solved, right? Because if you are not clear, if you just want the chatbot or a virtual assistant for the fad of it, then you'll you'll basically just waste time, energy, yourself and your partners as well, both, right? Number two, the biggest issue or biggest challenge we see facing it is there are a lot of the thought process in a lot of organizations will be just that okay, we'll buy a virtual assistant or a chatbot, right? While the fact is that the value driving is going to happen if you think of it from a end-to-end solution standpoint. When I'll just explain what happens is if you buy just a virtual assistant or if you go and buy a conversational AI solution, the problem is that it will always be 60, 70, 80%. It will only be able to handle 80, 90% tops in terms of number of questions that employees ask, right? But what about the other 10%? Right? You need to have a human fault safe. A human fault safe would be basically a ticketing solution or a case management solution, right? And then with that, there goes a proper knowledge management solution because you need to ensure that all of your policies, all of your knowledge articles related to HR are kept in a proper place, right? For people to access whenever they need to. So I've seen a lot of organizations thinking in silos that I'm going to take the virtual assistant from X, I'm going to use internal case management, and I'm going to use knowledge management of SharePoint, for example. Now, that is great. While that can work in theory, in principle, and we've seen it work with customers also, it just makes it 10 times harder to achieve the value that you want to drive in the organization, right? So, and this happens a lot. This happens a lot. And I understand that you already invested, you already, doing something, your internal IT team has already built a ticketing system for you, or you're using something else, you're using a Jira or whatever, right? So it can integrate, and in theory, in practical also, the solution can work. But the effort that it takes to deliver is very, very high, right? And this is the second mistake. Or they'll just say that, or customer might just say that, okay, forget about using other systems. They'll say we just want a virtual assistant. That itself is not the entirety of the solution. So generally these two or three things, if whoever is looking at investing in a solution like this, if you think in a wholesome manner from a virtual assistant, case management, knowledge management, document management perspective, like this is typically called the entire integrated HR service management space. So if you look at it from that an end-to-end employee solution perspective is when you will win, else you will not. And then the last challenge that I want to mention that our customers face the most will be adoption. So what happens is, we do this all day, every day, 300 times over, we have done it, right? The problem is some IT teams will come to you and say that, okay, we will build it for you. This happens all the time, right? You
All the
might take,
and especially if you're a tech company
yes, especially if you're a tech company, they'll
and you
come in
have
and say,
people on bench and you have people on bench.
exactly. So now what happens is that will never, so they come to us say that okay, we spent 2 years, we spent 1 year, we have spent 6 months, and we are nowhere. We have, even if the technology solution works, the problem is adoption. If you don't drive adoption, it is nothing. You can build a goddamn I don't know, space force or entire rocket. If there's nobody to sit on it and go to the moon or to the Mars, then it is no use whatsoever, right? So
Totally.
adoption is the key. Adoption is the key, and organizations sometimes completely miss that. I can tell you this: technology is only 20%. The rest 80% is all adoption. And as a organization today, as a
Well
partner
put.
today, we push that through and through in the head of all leaders we speak to. We say that our job is just 20% is technology, and we are great at it. Don't worry about it. We'll take care. You and you and us have to work together on the other 80%, which is the change management, which is the adoption to get this through. So generally the things that work for us is top down, and a lot of marketing, a lot of push, and making the virtual assistant or the chatbot an integral part of the life cycle. So for example, and these things work really well. So just a suggestion for everyone who is investing in a technology like this is have something that are exclusive to the virtual assistant. For example, we've done this many times over with our customers now. Like we say, payslips will only be available on Meena AI. So you have to go download the app, you have to log in, and you'll have to only get it from there. There's no other place you can get it. So we have like 500 different things we do. I'm sharing one very quirky one with the audience. So adoption and change management is the key, and a lot of investment has to go there for final ROI.
Well, interesting insights. I guess that's going to help a lot of people in the coming months. With this, another thing, which comes to my mind, and I think audience would also like to know that when it comes to ROI estimations, we know that there are a lot of tools which are available. You can, I mean, HR guys are trained to do ROI calculations when they are working out on any new solutions or working on any new HR intervention. Uh, when it comes to this space, how more accurate ROI estimation one can fetch through an employee experience program with the help of emerging tech ecosystems. I mean, lot of new solutions are coming, and the question is why I should move into to the new tech, right? Uh, to I have, I mean, once again, the challenges which we discussed, but at the end of the day, yes, we say that every organization at the end of the day is bothered about ROI.
Yep,
Whether my goal is to minimize cost or create a great employee experience, but this ROI and accurate estimation of ROI uh, remains one of the key goal for anyone who is working in HR or business and trying to bring a change or adoption of a new technology. How do you think more accurate solutions are being thrown in by this new ecosystem, which itself is evolving? What are the
absolutely.
challenges there? How accurate they are? Because you're always like beyond a fad, business world wants to see the real meaty stuff,
Yep,
and it can only happen when your ROI estimations are accurate. So
I
how do you
completely
view
agree.
this? Yeah,
I
how do you
completely
view
agree,
this?
Shika. I
Yeah,
completely agree, Shika. So I'll tell you, when we started on in 2017, we had zero idea of how to do ROI calculations, right? Um, I think up till around 2018, we had zero idea on how to do it because, of course, data comes in. Unless at least 10 customers use it, you don't know what value you're going to drive. Like, you know
right.
that there's value, that there's going to be automation. You don't know what exact dollar value are you going to save, or what's the impact on CSAT or employee time saving. You only can estimate, right? I think over the last 2 years, we have become extremely. I'm talking about us as an organization now. Uh, we've become extremely proficient in doing these, and I'll tell you how. I'll explain, and hopefully that will help the audience as well. So there are two parts of the value. One is employee time saving and employee experience, essentially, and the second is HR time saving and costs, like saving costs, right? So what we do is very simple. We do a lot of discoveries. Now, internally, if you are doing this, you should also do internal discoveries, because sometimes what happens is the project leader from the organization does not know about different things that are happening in the organization. So for example, a benefits comp and ben leader might not know how onboarding is happening, etc., etc. So whoever is leading the project should do an internal discovery and talk to all the stakeholders. What we try and achieve out of these discoveries, Shika, is very simple. We want to understand the end-to-end process, right? If you are doing onboarding, how many people are you onboarding? How many people are you expecting to onboard? What is the onboarding process? So once the recruitment is done, how does the offer get created? Is the offer getting created in your ATS today? Is it manual today? Is it sent out manually over email? Is it sent out in a system? Do you already have an onboarding solution in place? Right? Literally the nitty gritties of the process, like from onboarding to exit, literally everything we will understand in an organization. We will go in and understand in the organization. We'll spend at least 3 to 4 hours on an average, easily. In a 5,000, 10,000 people company, at least 3 to 4 hours just to try and understand literally every process from onboarding till exit. Right? Once we have that as is process mapped out, and this is what you should also do. Map out the as is process. We will sit down and create a to be process, right? So now this has to be done either by the project leader within the organization, or your technology counterpart, whoever has a very deep understanding of the solution that you're going to implement, right? conversational AI solution, you need to go in and say, okay, this is the as is. These are the manual things that are happening in the as is process, and this is going to be processed using technology, right? And then what you do is you do a small pilot or a small POC to say that, okay, if I am claiming X here on as is, that okay, this is happening in as is, and in 2B I'm claiming that this will be automated. Let me show it to you. As an organization, we've done it so many times. Of course, we have easy, we can show it easily. But if you're doing it internally also, you should just try and do a small POC of 1 or 2 or 3 of those points out of 20 to show the management that, hey, this is the as is, this is the 2B, like 20 points here, 20 points here. But I've also done a small POC of these 2 or 3 and see these works, because management needs proof. You know it, I know it, right? And especially for these emerging technologies, there's not like an HRIS that everyone knows that you have to take it, right? It's an emerging technology. So 20 points as is to be, do a POC of 2 or 3, go to the management and say that, hey, we claim that X number of hours are being spent in as is in to be using the technology which we have shown you in the POC, right? It is working. The number of hours will reduce from X to X minus Y. Now, the Y is the cost saving that we will deliver in the organization. And we've done this now so many times over. We have templates. So I can share those templates as well. If someone wants it, I'll give my email ID. I'll share those templates so that you can do those calculations. We have done it many times over, so we know the averages, etc., and how they work, right? So I can happily share the template, but that's essentially the process you run. And at the end of the day, you will be a maximum of 10% up or down in the estimation. But this is a
That's
time
not bad.
consuming process. It's a
Yeah.
time consuming process. You cannot and you should not take lightly. You should not, whenever there's, so I'll tell you what we used to do in 2017, 2018. We used to go in and say that we'll automate 50% of the questions coming in, right? This is what, see, technology was probably able to do that, but there was no benchmark, right? We had to benchmark it somewhere. So we used to just say 50%, right? Now I can tell you the exact dollar amount. I can literally go in and tell you the exact dollar amount because of this process. As is to be and a POC, and you have it. I can back it. I can put it in the contract today. I can say that I'm going to save you this much, and if I save you this much, you will give me this much. So all of those things can become extremely powerful, but this requires patience. This requires time and effort. We do it every day, so we can do it in 3 hours. You might take 6, 7, 10. I don't know how many hours, but if it is done properly, it will yield great results. On the flip side is the employee experience and employee time. So you set down, a lot of organizations don't track it at all, but if you track like KPIs like CSAT, for the service delivery or your help desk or your ticketing, you can take that as one metric, and then you can take another metric which is around turnaround time. You can take another one which is around you can say ratings. So generally, if a ticket closes, there is a 5-star rating that goes, which can be a part of CSAT, could be separate as well, right? So these are 2, 3 metrics that you can look at, and one of the most interesting metrics that we look at, or we have started looking at internally as well over the last 1 year, is employee time saved, right? So this is very interesting. So given a stack of solutions, like you're using SAP, Oracle, Workday, whatever, right? We know, because we have a research team internally, we know exactly how much time would an employee. So let's say on an average, an employee has to do like 40 transactions a year. I'm just making this up. 40 transactions a year. Yeah, 10 of these, 5 of these, 10 of leave, 5 of payroll, blah 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 blah, right? So out of these 40 transactions, they will spend, let's say, 3 hours or 4 hours in a year doing this, with using a conversational AI platform on Microsoft Teams, on Slack, on WhatsApp, on the mobile app. They can spend, instead of 4 hours, 1 hour, right? So this is 3 hours of cost saving for the employee. Similarly, you create another set of ROI for leadership. This is something that is working really well for us these days, right? Yeah, if you take leadership, approvals for them is a huge mess. There are 80 different applications where I have to go and do approvals, from capital expenditure, literally everything, right? So instead of going into 80 applications, conversational AI has the power of making it happen in one single app, right? Today, leaders of our customers use Lina AI to approve leaves, vacations, everything, travel requests, requests, capital expenditure requests, all kinds of things, right? So we again do the same exercise. If they were to do this, go into SAP, go into Concur, go into blah blah blah, and do this. This is how much time they would spend versus with conversational AI, and this is the average value of time. So that's the time we have saved. So this is how you do or drive ROI, and I can tell you, if you do this, it is time taking. You have to be patient, but if you do this in a couple of weeks, you'll be not more than 5 to 10% away from what you'll actually get at the end of the project.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying have patience reminds me of a very famous quote that, and I keep on to, sharing this with a lot of leaders around me, is that have patience and trust your journey. Because
Absolutely.
that's what is very important, and that's a key differentiator of ensuring that you are doing accurate estimations of ROI. And
Absolutely.
from ROI now and metrics, and there's an obvious thing which comes to everybody's mind, that how this perception and engagement tracking is enhancing employee experience metrics primarily. And it would be great if you can share a few of the best practices with our audiences.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'll tell you this from our own personal experience as well. So when we started out 2017, employees started using Lean AI across some of our early customers, and they loved it. They used to use Lean AI every day, every week, every month. Off the like amazing usage, right? People just love it on their mobile, on Slack, everywhere. So what happened is a lot of CHROs came to us and said, okay, are they, employees love Lean AI, they're using it every day on their mobile, right? Why can't, instead of the employee going to Lean AI, why can't Lean AI go to employees and also ask questions from them? Instead of them coming in and asking, getting their problem solved, why can't Lean AI go to them and ask questions and probably run employee engagement surveys, right?
Yeah.
And that's where back in 2018 and early 2019, we started investing heavily in our employee engagement solution as well, right? So what has happened there is what we realized is surveys or the way people were doing it, especially from an employee engagement perspective, are extremely old and boring. And people don't want to fill out a 60, 70, 80 question survey once a year in a year, which nobody is going to, which will give you analytics 2 months later and which nobody is going to look at with no actionables at all, right? Everything today is so fast, especially in the COVID era, especially in the tech era we are in, right? People are they're calling it the Great Resignation. People are leaving jobs. Every techie worth their salt, or every not just techie, most of the positions out there worth their salt can get 15 offers in 1 week, right? So in such a time, it becomes extremely important that we stay grounded. We keep one of our ear on the ground, and we keep hearing what's happening in the organization, right? So it's kind of, I don't like to call it surveys. I call it continuous conversations, right? I call it continuous conversations with employees, right? With colleagues. The idea is, conversational AI has the power of going, and Lena has the power of going to talking to employees again and again and again, every week, every fortnight, every month, every quarter, and just have not large conversations, 5, 7, 10 questions. Try and understand how Shika is feeling in the organization. What are her problem areas? What is she happy about? What is she not happy about? And if there's any feedback for the organization, like continuous flowing conversation instead of coming once a year with 70 questions. Let's break that down, right? Let's attach it to a specific event or moment that might have happened in Shika's journey. She just made CHRO. I'm just making this up. So Shika just got promoted, right? Let
Yeah.
the AI virtual assistant come to Shika and say, "Hey, congratulations! Are you scared? Are you nervous? Are you excited? What is happening, right?" And let that feedback flow in, for a real time analytics, real time insights, which HRBPs and managers can actually action on the ground in real time via really insightful dashboards. So that's something that we invested in. I think that's the future. I think the once a year survey trend is going to fail in the next 5 years. I think companies who will be doing it will be living in the dinosaur era, and continuous conversations, whether you do it via surveys or via virtual assistants, that's a separate discussion. You can have it internally as an organization, but everything has to happen continuously, and the conversational AI aspect of it just makes it more open and fluid and easy for employees to open up about their problems, because it's not like filling a survey, it's like having a conversation with another human, just like we are having it right now, right?
Yeah.
So that's the biggest difference, that we've seen with our conversational AI approach to engagement. And some of the best practices are just remain to be the same. Keep it, frequent, keep it short, keep the conversation short, 5, 7 questions, not more than that. Make sure that you're having life cycle based conversations. So if someone just got promoted, someone man just got changed, someone just got let's say transferred from one location to another, just make sure that you are having those conversations there so that you can take that feedback and actually action it really quickly if required, because people are the real gold in today's world.
Yeah, and just to add, from our experiences on dealing with such kind of solutions and people issues both, I would say that the conversational AIs, if when we use that as a tool, a lot of time, instead of making HR teams or operating HR teams in a reactive manner, since you have data points already collated, you can think through that what are the kind of solutions or the programs you need to build in, or giving that human touch to your employees becomes far more
Extremely important.
easier, effective, and it brings more connectivity because you have information beforehand, and when you have
Yep.
think through about everything, then you can handle that human relationship better. So I would
No,
say that
absolutely. It is said
yeah,
that, mentally an employee would check out at least a couple of months before they actually put in the papers, right? So
yeah, that's
if
what
you
it
have
is.
something, continuously, or some way of continuously listening, and it's called continuous listening, continuous conversations, whatever, it allows you to take action. If I know Shika is unhappy, I can go and make sure I talk to Shika and understand the problem, because I can tell you this: most of the problems are solvable. It's just that they're not being addressed in the right forum or with the right people, right?
Or
And
there is
getting a
no
see
conversation happening around those problems, and then you feel that
exactly
there's
nothing
nobody
is
listening
happening
who don't care. At the end of the day, care and concern is what
is the
builds
most
human
important. Yeah,
connections. Yeah, better. So coming back to this, we are approaching almost end of our session because we need to open up this conversation for our audience's questions also. Would like to do some rapid fire kind of thing with you. So 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 it's like, what would you tell your future self? Learn from mistake or doing right things each moment?
learn from mistakes,
Okay. Make something from nothing or get inspired from nature to make something.
make something from nothing.
Okay. Uh, uh, Trust, just do it or do it right every time.
Just do it.
Okay. Uh, would you like to sell an idea first and bill later, or build idea first and then sell it?
Sell an idea first and build it later.
Okay. What's your favorite movie? Ready Player One or Avatar?
Ready Player One.
Okay. And how would you inspire HR tech leadership for for having you know uh, and 30 minutes meeting movement or leadership in action at each moment?
Leadership action in every moment.
Okay, thank you. I think it has been a great interaction with you, Adit, and we all have learned a lot today from each other. And from we know that at least one thing is very clear, that which we all have experienced and you have corroborated also, is that adoption of AI and ML is 80%, technology is just 20%.
20%. Yeah.
So is the change management which is there for us as HR leader, which we need to drive through an internal risk discovery process that would yield better ROI estimations, and metrics are always there, and people can reach out to any one of us and to you for all the already worked out metrics which generate results in 3 hours rather than teams working for 6 days. So interesting insights and a very interesting conversation. I would like to open up uh, you know mm, uh, audience for questions. So would love to we would love to answer that. uh, audience can do that through live chat, uh,
I think
Yes,
that
ma'am. See
or
in the chat
There's a bunch
box.
of questions already. I think there's a bunch of questions already, Shikha, on the QA part of
Yes,
it.
ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
So,
okay. Let me just check. Yeah. Okay. So there is a question. Adit, you would like to pick up any question?
yeah, let's just pick any.
Ma'am and sir, the questions are also in the speaker chat. So if you all can refer that also.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay, so there is uh, uh, Adit, there is one question which is, will AI or ML also undergo any significant changes in future, particularly on its applications? Would you like to answer that?
Ma'am, I think sir has lost connection. We can see that.
Uh, or is it because session time is getting over?
No, ma'am. I think there's a network issue from his end mostly.
Okay, okay. What we can also do is uh, all these questions, since we are now almost finishing up the session, what we can do is, if you can send this list of questions to Adit and me, we can actually revert back, and you can circulate it to on the app, or all these spaces. Would that be good for you guys?
Ma'am, sir is here. Sorry.
Hi, I'm sorry.
Hi, hi. No worries. I Okay. So, there are a couple of questions there. Can you pick up one question, one or two questions, and answer that?
I'd love to. The problem is I can't see the questions. There's something
I'm
loading.
I'm gonna ask. I'm
Sure.
gonna ask. I'll just read it for you. Just give me a
Sure.
sec. Mm, just a sec. There are Q and A's. Okay. So there's one question which is asked, is how to ensure ethics are not compromised while deploying AI tools. How do you handle such situations, Adit?
No, absolutely. I think I think this is a very interesting topic, which is personally close to my heart as well, because I'll tell you a few situations that we've been thinking about and few scenarios we've been running ourselves as well. So, uh, bias and ethics, for example, while let's talk about recruitment virtual assistants, like when the virtual assistant is running an assessment, for example, right? In those
Mm,
scenarios, how do you ensure that there is no bias that creeps in based on the AI? Because AI models can learn from all kinds of data. It could be your gender, it could be your age, it could be anything and everything that gets inputted, right? So I think what you do is you build guardrails. So there are guardrails to AI where you try and make sure that your AI model is not learning from things that do not matter or that introduce bias, like gender, age, color, all of those high level things. But it is not a foolproof solution. I'll tell you why. The reason is there are a lot of cultural aspects which are deep rooted in a lot of these things. So while you remove the very easily removable metrics like gender, age, color, whatever, hair or no hair, whatever, I'm just making all of this up, right? If you remove these, still they would affect someplace else. I'll give you an example. In the US, there was a study that was done wherein, let's say, the AI model without any guardrails was, basically training on a data set. Now that data set actually learned, or the behavior changed from where they live, or which particular part of the locality they live. Right now, it kind of became racial, not because the input had the color of the people in that AI model, but because of the neighborhoods that they came from, right? So a lot of times, while you remove the easily removable guardrails, there is still possibility of bias to come in into your AI model. And what we do at Lena AI today is we have extensively invested in making sure that we are expanding our guardrails every single day, right? There are going to be two kinds of metrics, like right, easily surface level metrics that you can see and you want to make sure that your AI is not affected by, and then there are the effects of those metrics that keep going below the surface of the water as well. So our people are continuously digging to find those subsets of metrics that are getting affected by the top level metrics and ensuring that those are guardrailed within our algorithms as well. But a great question. And I think that's going to continuously evolve as we keep moving forward as an industry, as human race as well.
So does that automatically answers another question which is being thrown by audiences about that how biases are removed, is it the same way it is happening, how, or is
Yes.
it a new process which is being uh,
No, so
implemented?
it basically the easiest way is to put those guardrails in. So you don't input the data that you don't want the AI to learn on. So if I don't want it to get biased by, let's say, color, race, age, hair or no hair, I'm just making all of this up. If I
Yeah, I mean,
don't want
a
that,
lot of
I just
organizations have reported this, and they have to actually shut down entire program. We all know, about those organizations. So, such kind of things just bring, it's just a waste of a lot of time, effort, and
so you don't
investment.
input them. So in your data set, while you're training your AI model, you don't input this information at all. So if you don't input it, the AI model will never learn on it.
So you have to train your AI models like the way you train the kids, or you train your
Exactly.
students, or you train your trainees in the organization.
No, which is true, right? Which is true. Like humans
Yeah.
also, right? If you behave in a way where you are discriminating amongst people, and your kids will learn from that, of course, right? And you have to be conscious enough not to do that, or you should never be doing it, but at least not to do that in front of them, so that they
In front
don't
of
learn that,
them.
right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
or not
totally.
even like do anything remotely discriminative in front of them, just to make sure that they never learn. Of course, you never do it. I'm just giving an example, but that's why it is important for the AI model also not to input that data. It's just the same thing. It's the same thing getting replicated both places.
Yeah. So with this, I would like to extend special thanks to Toshi, Vishal, and you, Adit, an entire NHRD team for sharing such an interesting opportunity for all of us to interact with each other. Thanks a lot, everyone. It has been a great session, and I hope audiences have gained different insights. And from this, from learning of these sessions and interaction, they will be creating maze brightness as people leaders of their organization, and keep on building. And you guys, Adit, would be keep on building good HR tech solutions for all of us in the industry. Thank you, and have a great day ahead, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Bye bye.
It was fun having you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. It was a great, amazing fireside chat and very engaging for the audience too. And sorry we couldn't continue more because of the time constraints, but I'm sure it was a very engaging and an interesting session for all of us. And we are honored to have both of you. Thank you very much.
Thank
And
you.
I would request the audience to please join the other session because it has already started.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adit sir. Thank you, Shika ma'am. Thank you
Thank
Bye
very
you.
much.
Thank
guys.
you
Have a
so
good
much.
one.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Bye.